Welcome back to another Value Bites. We're excited to have Jayne McQuillan back with us today to share some more insights. So Jayne, before we kick things off here, tell us just a little bit about you, about Journey Consulting, and how you help your clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jayne McQuillan, I'm the owner and founder of Journey Consulting. We've been in business for just over 16 years now. And we work with business owners really to help them drive value, to build profits, build wealth, and hopefully exit their business on their own terms. And in so doing, we also want to make sure that they're enjoying their business while they're in it, not just when they exit it.
So we are so excited to get to chat with you again, and we want to talk more about planning. And so we really stress with our clients the importance of a detailed marketing strategy. But what kind of strategic planning do you do, or do you really recommend to the businesses that you work with, Jayne?
Yeah, so we actually do work with our clients on strategic planning because as part of them building value within their business, they've got to know where they're going, right? And what their goals are to get there, and helping them really put together an actionable plan to be able to make that reality. And so we do annual strategy planning with our clients, but we also do a lot of quarterly check-ins. So part of our process, so as a business owner, it really doesn't matter. Some business owners say, well, I'll plan at the end of the year. Well, if you've never done planning, just start. I mean, you could start it partway through the year. It doesn't really matter. There's not a set date that, January 1, you have to do planning or whatever in the fourth quarter. But if you haven't started, I mean, one of the key things that we work with our clients on from a strategy standpoint is understanding what their business model is today. What are they doing today? Do they understand their customers? Do they understand their value proposition? Do they understand what's making them money, what's not making them money? So we do a lot of, I'll call it kind of foundational baseline when we do strategic planning, specifically with those that have not done strategic planning before. And then we start really looking at where are their strengths, where are their weaknesses, where are their opportunities, but we also focus on where do they have opportunities for strategic cost reductions within their business, that maybe they're doing some things, like with any business, you've grown it over time, and there's things that maybe you're doing for your clients that really aren't value add to your clients and could be an opportunity for cost reductions. Or what are the strategic positioning opportunities where you could invest and add a differentiator into what you're doing? So we work with them through that process all the way to developing, okay, what do we want to look like 3 years from now? And we usually do it on a 3-year time frame. Just 3 years is already hard enough to look ahead at. But we look at where do they want to be in 3 years and kind of set those goals. And then we backtrack saying, okay, now in the next 12 months, where do we want to be? And then more specifically, what are the next 90 days? And we set action plans based on just those 90 days. I know some strategic planners set strategic action items all the way through for 12 months. We find that that's not as effective because things change. They learn things in the quarter, and then things may need to be tweaked. It doesn't mean their goals change, doesn't mean their initiatives change, but how they get there may change. And so we help them set those plans and set accountability, set timelines and ownership. And then we hold them to that. And then we do check-ins with them, and they have set regiment monthly that they're meeting internally to make sure that they're on track. But having those clear, actionable plans, one, helps them define, where they're going, align their team to get there, setting ownership to make sure there's accountability, and then obviously the timelines to make sure it's actionable and that, they are getting the results that they plan to get. And we find that to be pretty foundational with our clients in terms of strategic planning, and specifically value creation and exit planning. So yeah, we value it as much, I think, as you do in terms of the marketing side. You have to have a plan, and you got to know where you're going.
Yeah, it's really hard to just fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Make good things happen. So are there any examples you can give us of what you've seen in businesses that run from a strategic plan versus those that are just winging it, doing what feels right in the moment?
Yeah. It's really funny. And I hear this often from specifically clients who've never done strategic planning, and their response as to why they don't do it is because they said, well, we were just opportunistic. And I find that a really funny answer, because I'm like, well, yeah, whatever comes in front of you.
Planning's not an opportunity at all.
Yeah. Well, and they look at it, goes, well, what if something comes in front of us and we want to take advantage of that? That's an opportunity, and we don't want to block that off. And I'm like, well, it's not blocking it off, but it's also defining what opportunities fit and what don't fit, so that when those opportunities come, in front of you, you can say, is this something we should be paying attention to and we need to adjust to in terms of how we get there? Or is it something that's just not part of who we are? And a lot of entrepreneurs, let's face it, they love the opportunities, they love the vision, they love the ideas, and it can really cause chaos within an organization. So what we find for those organizations that do strategic planning and engage in that process is that there's alignment and clarity within the organization. One of the biggest challenges for business owners is to get everybody on the team going in the same direction, and strategic planning gets them aligned first and foremost. And they get better results because now they're measuring the progress. Now we set the goals, we set initiatives, we set quarterly action plans. Okay, well, now are you getting the results that you said you were going to get? And if not, how are you adjusting real time, as opposed to saying, hey, I set my plan for the year, I'm hoping I make $10 million. And when I get to the end of the year, I didn't make $10 million, but we have no idea why we didn't make $10 million to get there, right? So just one of those examples. And I think the other key thing is just proactive decision-making. When they're in that process and everybody's aligned and they've agreed on the direction, now there's very proactive decision-making in terms of, one, how do we, tweak things if we need to, but also if there are those opportunities coming in, how are we proactively making those decisions to either move forward with those or not move forward with those? But they are making better decisions overall as an organization when they've got strategic planning, as part of their foundation. Because when we've seen it on the flip side, again, back to the opportunistic, they don't have a roadmap. So they don't know where they're going. And they're like, like the saying goes, any road, if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. And I think that's the case. And so they don't realize even what they're sacrificing by not having a plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of it. And they tend to be much more reactive just in general, and overall performance is just not at the same level of those who really want to have the plan, but obviously keep that rhythm and execute to it. So big difference in our clients.
I'm really glad that you mentioned the opportunity thing, because that's something that we have to grapple with too, right? Like, we've set our plan for the year. We have our objectives, we have our offerings in place and how we want to do business. And inevitably something comes up that's like, it's so tempting because it's an opportunity for us to do something. And then we have to go, wait, if we take this one, then that's one step off of our plan. And it'll quickly be a downhill run to completely off track. And so that you brought that up, because not every opportunity is a positive opportunity. Sometimes it's an opportunity to end up failing. And
and I think one of the things, and I didn't mention it from our strategic planning piece of it, is that as we're going through that process and developing, again, the model in terms of that, we're also developing kind of the clarity around who they are and who they are not. And so to your point on the opportunities, if an opportunity comes in, they can evaluate it, but they're evaluating it based on kind of criteria. Is this kind of the core of who we are, or is it not? So that they're not just, again, shiny objects, right, of what can be coming in. They're really evaluating and going, is it a fit or is it not a fit? Now, you can always change your plan. I always tell people, it's not like this isn't, solid, you can't change anything, but you don't want to be changing it for every opportunity coming in. And when you've got that, it also creates, what I've seen, at least from an owner perspective, a lot of accountability from the management or leadership, because now they have a tool, right, of saying, hey, here's who we said we are and here's where we're going. And so as the shiny objects come in, they can say, hey, this fits or it doesn't fit, and they can challenge those opportunities. And I find that to be really effective within the management and ownership group, because now there's a vehicle, as opposed to, I don't like your idea, or it's not a good idea, and the owner is trying to cram it down their throats because they're, in love with the idea. So that's another key takeaway, I think, when they do strategic planning.
That's such great insight into just the general importance of having a plan. And, one of the things that you said previously was the fact that you don't have to wait to start planning. If you're not a business or an operator who's already planning, you don't have to wait until January or wait until this certain time. You can start right now. And so for those businesses and those owners that maybe don't have a strategic plan in place, what would you say would be the top benefits that they could really think about, that they as the owners will directly experience if they put a strategic plan in place? What are those benefits?
Yeah, I think the biggest is, one, they're aligning their strategic activities to growing the value of the business. So now they've aligned strategically what it is they're trying to do to how that impacts the value. So again, it doesn't matter when you start it, right? Now you're just aligning the team. The other is it starts creating a system within the business to continuously execute on this plan. So they're meeting quarterly, there's action plans, there's timelines, it becomes a rhythm within the organization. So because it's a rhythm and they're consistently focused and aligned on where they're going, the value growth happens. And lastly, it frees up the owner, right? So now it's not just the owner driving where the organization's going. Everybody in the organization is aligned, and it does allow the owner to really spend more time on where they add value to the business and not having to juggle all of these things or getting frustrated when new ideas or new concepts are not, accepted by the team. They now have a different level of accountability, but in a good way, because now the management team can execute on that and they can be freed up to focus on some of the longer term strategy. So yeah, I see significant value. And like I said, it doesn't matter when they start. It's just the fact that they start.
Yeah, man, how often do we feel this like hurry up and wait thing in our
Absolutely.
businesses where it's like we almost wait for permission to take that time to put a plan in place. And then if we miss the New Year's window, it's like, well,
We'll do it next year.
I'll try again next year. Yeah, I've definitely been guilty of that kind of thing before
Right.
too.
100%.
Yeah, and I think it's an easy thing to put off because they get so caught up in the day-to-day operations. We all do, right? In terms of our businesses. And so that time to even, I'll call it step back and take the time to really focus on the business piece of it, it really allows them a different lens to look at the business. And so whether they do it in January, whether they do it in June, it doesn't matter because it will impact their business and they'll have immediate impacts by just doing that exercise and getting them in place. I'll call it not only to have the plan, but that rhythm to make sure that they're doing it consistently.
Yeah, definitely. Another thing that we all know business owners put off for way too long and that you are an expert in is getting the business ready for a transition. So
Yeah.
how does strategic planning, doing these 90-day sprints, having the overall annual plan in place, how does that help a business owner prepare for that eventual transition or exit out of their business?
Yeah, absolutely. Because at that point in time, and when we deal with specifically business owners that are looking to exit at some point in the near term, and that could be 3 to 5 years, could be a little bit longer, is not only are they developing the plan for the business, but they're developing the plan for themselves. And so as they're developing the plan for themselves, to help position them, again, whether they want to be in the business long-term, whether they want to just be more of a silent partner, whether they want to sell the business, they're executing on that same plan at the same time they're building that value within the business. So it sets them up to be ready, right, at any point in time by doing the strategic planning. And the other key thing is now they've got a team that's aligned. They've now integrated essentially this aspect into their culture in terms of people being aligned around value creation. What does that mean? How do we consistently create that? And now they're creating more value within the business for the business owner to exit again with a higher monetized value at some point. And again, during one of the key things, like we say in this, is yes, they're planning for an exit, but the reality of it is we want them to have more value and enjoy the business while they're in it. And so when they're doing the strategic planning, when they're executing on it, when they're building that value, they're enjoying more of the business while they're in it. And it changes their options at some point in time. So, I've got many case studies where I've had clients where, they're like, I'm burnt out, I want to exit the business. And when we've gone through the process of positioning them to really start focusing on the value and getting the team in place, they're like, well, now I'm having fun. I don't need to be here every day, right? I can focus on the fun stuff. I've got a team that's running it, and they change their exit, but not because of a bad thing. It's because now they're enjoying the business while they're in the business again. So I think there's a ton of benefits for the business owner, again, while they're in it, but also to position that business should something unexpected happen, or again, allow them really to be in a position to choose the when.
Yeah. So I love the idea of this. You work on the strategic plan, and then not only are you reaping those long-term benefits of the eventual transition, but really getting to enjoy the business while you're in the business. And I think sometimes that as business owners, we kind of get into that like the grind and the hustle mentality. And, you know, I'm really anti-hustle mentality. I'm like, let's be strategic. Like, let's figure out how we can work harder and smarter, work smarter and not harder so that we can accomplish that eventual goal. So I just love that aspect. And so kind of outside of being able to pivot into enjoying the business and while you're working in the business, can you tell us about an owner that benefited from a strategic plan and how that really impacted them? Is there kind of that owner story that comes to mind?
Yeah, in fact, a client I've been working with for a number of years, and they were, I'll call it newer in their I'll call it business journey in terms of that. And I've been trying to get them to do planning and to put them in that position. And last year in 2023, or the end of 2022, we did planning for 2023, and we had a strategic plan in place. We set goals, we set, did the whole thing, right, for the whole year. And the company happens to be a cabinet manufacturer. It was our first strategic plan. It was their first full year, even budget to match the plan. So now they have the metrics, right, to track against that. And at the end of the year, they not only hit their goals, which grew revenue by 32% for the year, they grew profitability by 1,325%. And they now have a management team in place that he's one step closer to being out of the business. And that's, I mean, that's I think the example of the fact. Now, will everybody get, disclaimer, right? Not everybody can get those results, but the reality of it is, had they not done that, I can guarantee you they wouldn't have gotten the results because they weren't focused on it and they weren't driving the key things that would drive the value, drive the growth, and really position them for what they were trying to get to, because now they had not only the goals, but they had the roadmap to get there. So yeah, it has a significant impact on business success for sure.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
I think everybody would like to have that kind of growth and
just like a part of that.
Like,
nice. We don't have to get to 1,000%. Like we feel right, like just a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But I think that's right to your point earlier. I mean, that's really the testament of having the plan and having the goals and the execution to do that, because now you can pivot, you can adjust. If you're not on track, what do you need to do to make sure that you can get back on track? And I think that's the biggest thing, is it just becomes another metric for you to say, hey, am I getting where I said I wanted to go? And am I executing on the things I needed to do? Because that's the accountability piece, right? Which a lot of times business owners, from any business owner, really, from a strategic plan, it's like, yeah, I got great ideas, but then I didn't get to it. I got busy with the business and, the strategy never happened. We didn't get to it. It was extra. And once they make it part of their operations and how they do business, it becomes pretty powerful in terms of the results they can get.
I think every owner can relate to that in some aspect of their business. I know, I feel like about half of this conversation, I felt personally called out. So, I feel like we all understand in some capacity, and there's just the need to take time and invest. I mean, creating a strategic plan, and when we're working with clients to create their marketing strategy, it's investing in your business, but more importantly, it's really investing in you as the owner. And we deserve that. We deserve to be able to know our vision and work towards it and not have to be in this reactionary, shiny object state. And I think that's the power that you're offering with the strategic plan.
Yeah. And I think I think you hit on it. It's so easy to get just sucked into the day-to-day. And I kind of chuckle because I said, and I'm guilty of it as well, is that, you're so busy during the day, and my best thinking is when I'm away and I'm doing something else. And that's when those ideas come and go, oh my God, this is what we could be doing. But that's that time away, and taking that time to really focus on the business is so valuable. And I don't think business owners, probably realize it, but definitely don't take the time to do it. Yeah, I agree.
Well, Jayne, if people are listening and they're ready for that 1,000% increase in profitability, or they're just convinced that it's time to get a little more strategic, put some planning in place and start thinking about their exit, where can people connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they can definitely connect with me even just on LinkedIn at Jayne McQuillan. But you can check out our website where you can get access to a lot of our content and just our case studies at www.journeyconsult.com. Or they can email me at jmcquillan@journeyconsult.com and or call us. Yeah, nobody calls right anymore. 920-770-4141. So yeah, a lot of ways to get a hold of us, and I'd be happy just to connect.
Awesome. Thank you again, Jayne, so much for always just sharing so much value and giving us your time today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was my pleasure to be on, and yeah, I always enjoy these opportunities to just hopefully educate and give little tidbits, hopefully to business owners to put them in a better position.
Thanks, Jayne.
All right, thank you.